Welcome to the very first episode of The Cycle, the premier Slapshot podcast. I'm Criz. I'm a JSL champion and currently ride the bench for the Clappers. I'm here today with my co-hosts Rodeo and Balucha.
Like you said, my name's Rodeo. I'm a longtime Slapshot player, two-time NSL finalist, ex-Denver Omelet, current GM of the St. Louis Storm for going on 2 seasons now. MVP, best passer, most improved, best value,
All right, bro, we get it.
Ton of hardware, no chip yet, but
We get it.
No crown like me.
Well,
under my team,
True.
I drafted you, built the team,
cool.
forged on fire, no big deal.
And
Okay.
what's up? I'm Balucha. I picked up Rodeo in free agency. It's about the thing that I'm best known for. Also, the original artist for Slapshot and GM of the Denver Omelets.
That's it? That's all you wanted to say?
I mean, I never won most improved. I never won most improved. I was never a
No, you were like,
GM of
you're
the
like, I have a
Storm.
lot I want to talk about.
I think-
You talk for
I
like
think you
3
won.
seconds.
Was it? What was it now? Most
I
likely. to
won.
own
I
goal?
won. Okay. I haven't been truthful with you guys. I did win most likely to own goal. The
on
NSL
my
season
team. That quite sums out how that season went.
Yeah. Well, the best thing that ever happened to the Omelets was Rodeo. So
Ooh,
That's facts.
All right.
That's a lot of gas.
Okay. Let's get into our first topic. All right. So now that we're heading into what is the first postseason of the placement SPL, right? What did you guys think of the SPL like as a whole for the whole season? Like, what do you think of the new format, switching over from like a sim league like the NSL was over to a more like traditional format like the SPL is now, where you kind of like pick your own team and make your own team?
Yeah, more esports like. I thought it went fantastic. I mean, there was a few bumps, a few like
Of course.
some forfeits and like teams that weren't as committed as others. But I think overall, you saw a lot more competitive teams formed compared to NSL. I don't know who you can blame that on. Some GMs might have, whatever. But it came down to the wire as far as placements. We'll talk about that later, though.
Yep.
A lot of competitive rosters, a lot of unlikely rosters. I think we'll get into that a bit later, also, though. But as a whole, as far as like the website and everything, it went fantastic for the most part.
Okay.
I don't know what all went into it, but it seemed like everyone was a lot more invested. Maybe having the games like pre-scheduled kind of lit a fire under everyone.
Yeah.
So at least like if they were passive and didn't schedule a time, then they knew that the game was going to happen no matter what, whether they liked it
people
or
just got
not.
on their ass. I think that one of the huge things was like the hard deadline to schedule games. So if you looked at the website on, I think it was like Tuesday night it locked. So if you looked like Wednesday morning, those times were gonna happen if they didn't.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some reschedules, but I mean, that's being worked on. And I think it's still gonna be a lot better.
Yeah.
Overall, I
next
felt like SPL was just a lot more organized. So
Right.
shouts out to Q-Dub and Kodiak and everyone else who was involved. It became a big
Definitely.
team effort in the end. And I mean, the website obviously upped the production a lot.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
working off of like Google spreadsheets anymore. You have like 5 tabs open just to figure out team stats and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the website is really well organized and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say for the first season, it seemed to go like obviously you're gonna have bumps doing anything, but even for the first season, it ran like pretty much without major flaws. I would say like the website helped a ton, like you said, but I think that from NSL, like I think the draft is obviously super fun. Like I think everybody loves the draft, but I think
the draft brings hype.
the draft is just like you start at the top of the mountain and you can only go down. You're like, all right, bro, like everything's downhill from here. So
like even the draft is more hype than like the final.
Right, yeah,
Just 'cause
that's what
everyone
I
loves the
mean,
draft
like-
so much.
it's I don't know. So I just think it was just better because I think people knew who could fit with whose schedule. Like I just think it was easier to pick who you want to play with and not have 3 people just hoping that their schedules kind of line up. So I think that overall this is definitely the better way to go to.
Yeah.
And-
And the URL is super clean, like spl.gg.
Oh, yeah. The website is awesome.
Super sick.
Yep. Obviously, shout out to Min and to AIA for streaming all the games. As
Oh
well.
my God,
Oh, of course.
fantastic.
The
Fantastic
production
streams.
over the course of the season just got better and better.
Yeah.
My
Like, we have
favorite thing at the end
replays.
was spamming the cheers.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so excited because it's ramping up now already. Like, it's only getting better and better. And like, I feel like when Slap 2 drops, with like, if you get a lot of new players and like you're still streaming all the games every week, like obviously we're gonna have the top 8 teams now. I think it'll be so good when they're streaming those games. We're getting more people to watch, more people to play, more people to participate. Like, I feel like it's only gonna get better. And like, this is kind of a good testing season at like the perfect time, I feel like.
Yeah, it's like a lot of good hype that I think has been missing for the last couple months as things have been a little bit quieter.
Definitely.
And then the SPL just came in and like shook it all up, so it was really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
If there's any like one negative to it, I guess it's that like if you're bad, you're probably gonna be with other bad people. You know.
Oh yeah.
So at least with the draft format, it was like if you're bad, maybe you're like a 5th or 6th, or there was a JSL and everything.
Right.
But on this one, if you're like not a competitive player, maybe is a nicer way to say it, then you are probably gonna team up with your friends who are also maybe not competitive players.
Well, that's only for this season though, because this season was the play season. So after this, it should be all like pretty similarly skilled players along with each other.
Open
exactly.
Open division is going to be crazy.
I know that's another thing.
Prizes there.
That's another.
We'll talk about that later.
That's gonna be awesome.
That's down the list.
We got plenty.
It's really funny because it's like we had the NSL and JSL before, and it's almost like we're gonna have something similar where you have like the top premier teams in the pro division. And then you'll have sort of an open pool in the open division. The only thing I'm worried about is that if a good team of players signs up in the open division, then just like tears it up.
Well, I mean that's kind of how it is though. Even with like say like Counter-Strike, like if you have a good team play in the open division and work their way up, like that's kind of how you have to do it though, to like show that you don't deserve to be there. Like that's kind of how you got to get moved up through the division, like open, intermediate, like then you just keep going up. Which, like if they sign up, it sucks. But at the same time, like if you're an open for 5 seasons, then like that's kind of your own fault at that point.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's like. Look, guys, we don't want to be here. You don't want us to be here.
Just take the L and move on.
Let's just get this over with so we can get promoted to pro division.
Yeah, 100%.
But I mean, it does see a huge benefit of, on average, for open games, you're not going to have like the 17-2 scores, the 26-2, or whatever that Fisherman game was. Almost kind of did that too last week. No big deal.
I wasn't there.
Yeah. Balucha. That was rough.
All right, so overall SPL, big plus. Overall.
Yeah, fantastic. It's only going to get better. You saw amazing work from the whole team. Q-Dub, Kodiak, Min, Aya, all of them.
All right, so now that the season is obviously over, we are going to have the post season with the top 8 teams already being decided. Is there any shocking top 8 teams, or I would say not shocking, but just maybe somebody that squeaked in that you might not have thought so in the beginning of the season? Or
so just to recap, the top 8 teams that did make it in were the Columbus Clappers, St. Louis Storm, Long Island Fishermen, Denver Omelets, Carolina Smokers, Baltimore Burgers, Honolulu Hootenannies, and Virginia Express. When I think if you talk to most people, there were 9 teams fighting for 8 spots for most of the season.
Yeah.
Sale put up a fight towards the end, but I think before the season, if you looked at that roster, people probably didn't think they were going to be making it.
That fight for the 8th spot was genuinely so intense, especially at the end. Because we had the Smokers even were at number 9. Like just a couple of days ago, the Smokers were out. Venom were in. Express were in, I think. And it just was so back and forth. And even looking at how close the points are towards the lower part of the promoted teams, it just really shows that's a really competitive part of the standings.
Yeah, the 6, 7, 8, and 9 seed all were 9 and 6, so it all came down to tiebreakers.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Well, it was crazy.
Well, the thing that I like is that, like, so say the Venom and the Sale, like, obviously they just like bubbled out just barely, but at the same time, it's like if you're already doing that good, like, you're only gonna get better, and that means that next season, like, if you are top 2 again, then like you're gonna get moved up. You know what I mean? So it sucks that it's not your time now, but like it should only like just look at it as a positive. You know what I mean? Like it might be good that they didn't get in now to only get better, so they can get in and be even better when they do get in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's something to kind of look at, like kind of look at it that way. Mm-hmm. You don't want to like squeak in and then just kind of do bad in your first season. You know what I mean? Or like not maybe play as well as you think you might have. Playing against like only the top 7 teams is a lot different than playing against half of the top 8 and half of not the top 8.
Yeah.
So,
to bring it back for a second, at the beginning of the season there were 17 teams. We did have one dropout, unfortunately, the Portland Penguin. F in the comments for the Penguin.
Who was on that? Who was on that roster? I honestly don't remember.
You're making me look bad, bro. I don't know. They're not on the website anymore, but
erased from our memories.
It was devastating, dude.
I feel like some of their players might have joined other teams. Like I feel like wasn't Fedorov a
He
Penguin?
might have been.
I
would believe it.
Sorry, Fedorov.
Sorry, Fed.
If you're listening, but I'm not sure who the Penguin were.
I mean, on top of the Pangolins dropping, though, the Ogres also had a crazy turnover where I think by the end of the season they had a completely different team than the one that they started with.
They went through players quickly. They stuck through the season.
I have a lot of respect for.
They had double the set. They had double the minus of the second lowest bid. For their goal wise, and they stuck through the season.
Hey, that means that they probably want to play next
season. That's what I'm saying. Big respect, dude.
Yeah, if they can only get better. Open, they're gonna be a menace.
Well, I think that's the thing too, is like having to play with two people that like know you most likely, or like you pick to play with. You're more incentivized to kind of like play out the season or like continue to play, even if like it doesn't look good or it's like not going your way. You're just like you're more incentivized because it's people that like you know what I mean. So I like that format a lot more.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I don't know how well they knew each other in their case, but for everyone else, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go over some of the rosters for what we thought going into the season, like any interesting rosters that formed. I had one that was surprising. I had a couple that were surprising, but one that stuck out the most was the Express roster, actually. I didn't really see coming. I was telling Raph to play for him to find a team. I already had a team at the time. We teamed in Season 2. But I already found a team for the SPL, so that wasn't an option. He ended up teaming with Hellhaunt and Seppi, who Seppi ended up putting up an amazing season. They've Hellhaunt playing goalie for the most part. They had a slow start, but they really ramped up towards the end. I think they surprised a lot of people. But I think going into the season, that was a really questionable roster for a lot of people. If you were to ask them for their opinion going in.
I don't know. I actually wasn't so skeptical of that roster specifically at first, and then they started playing, and I was like, what is not clicking here when they were just losing all these games in a row? But it seemed like they just switched it up. They put Hellhan in goal. Seppi took off. Like I don't even know who that guy is.
And Raph came out of net. He was stuck in net for me. In our NSL Season 2, he was stuck playing defense for my team. I think he was happy to find an offensive role on another team for the most part.
I think it kind of shows you put players in their natural role, and you like pass this judgment on them when they're not, and you think someone's not as good as they actually can be when they're playing in their natural role up to their potential.
Yeah, and I don't know how much they scrim, but sometimes it just takes time to like work together and trying to find a rhythm as a team. I mean, they only started 0-3. I think after that they brought it back. I think their week 2 was really good, if I remember correctly. Maybe like a 2-1 week 2.
Well, speaking of what Balucha just said, something that I kind of wanted to develop, like even as we talk about all this, is like I wanted to like talk about people's play styles, because I feel like a lot of the times right now, like since the game is so early in like the like competitive phase, like since I come from like a lot of like competitive game like background and stuff, like I think it's really important to like bring up topics of people's like play styles and like just where they play or how they play, like because I think right now a lot of people are just like picking 3 good players and like putting them on a team and wondering like, okay, like why isn't this working, you know what I mean? Or like you have 3 people like trying to play the same role or like trying to play the same spot on offense or defense or like just anything. So I think like as we do this, we should try to like develop a type of just play styles or people's like preferences and how they play, where they play, because I think that would help a lot in terms of like where the game's going, to be like, okay, like I like to play this, or I like to play forecheck, or I like to be the point, or like I like to bring the puck up. So like I think it sucks. You only have 3 people, so it's like if you have 2 people playing the same kind of role or like doing it, you're kind of screwed. You know what I mean? So
you step on each other's toes.
Yeah, right. So I think that it'd be good for just the future of the game, just to kind of bring up.
That's something I want to go on to. Actually, probably this episode with the Smokers roster.
Yes,
that 100%. I kind of like. I had questions about going into the season.
Yeah,
and I actually think we saw that come into play a lot this season.
100%.
But actually, I wasn't surprised by the Smokers roster, but I was surprised by the Burgers roster. Seeing Walster and Oceloth team up with Renard, you have two Frenchies. Oceloth is a top French player in my mind.
Oh yeah, 100%.
French Canadian. Easily one of the best. People's opinion on him grew a lot over how many pugs he played.
Yeah.
I always saw him as like Panarin's kryptonite. If you had Oceloth on your team against Panarin, your chances of winning go up a lot just because of the way he plays. How much that stands true in league games. Actually, they beat him. Actually,
yep.
That's
crazy. The one team that was able to
beat the Clappers.
Although I hate to say it, wasn't that the one game that you played, Criz?
No, I don't think so.
No.
He played the very first game of the season, Criz.
Oh, really?
His dream couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Don't worry, I put up one goal, one assist. Flexing.
So no excuses then.
No.
Baltimore Burgers besting the Columbus Clappers fair and square. They also had a couple of close calls. Like everyone likes to see the Clappers as like this team that no one can beat, but even against the Sale just the other day,
they only beat Virginia by 1 on like a last second goal, I think, too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget the timing on that, but I'm pretty sure that was a 1-goal game.
Well, to go back to fucking Balucha's topic about Rodeo's topic about the Smokers and their issue. Like, when I looked at the Smokers, they hadn't beaten a top 4 team the whole season. Like, they were in 5th. They didn't beat any of the other top 4 teams. So, obviously, like, that's kind of, alarming. And then when they were going into the Omelets game, they only scored 1 goal against the Omelets the first time they played them. So, it's tough to pick a team like that only because it just looks like their offense wasn't clicking on levels that it was obvious when you put Dennis in. It looked like they had 2 puck handlers, you know what I mean? So it just looked a lot more smooth. Where the Burgers, they beat the Clappers, they pushed the Storm to OT with 11 goals, you know what I mean? So they beat the Sale, which obviously the Sale were still good. They beat them 16-7. They were putting up numbers. So I think there are some teams you can look at and just kind of look at the games played.
I thought that roster was going to be good. I was just surprised they teamed up. I just didn't see Walster finding a team with 2 French players. The original thing I was going to bring up is that I thought there was going to be a full French team. You see it a little bit on the Omelets, but Balucha, you end up playing most of those games. I don't think we've seen the French lineup too much. Maybe a couple where you didn't play.
I think 3 games.
Yeah, 3 games. We saw the twins, Sheba and Kim Jong, and then Scods as well come in for a full French lineup.
And they actually look really good together too. You get Kim Jong and Sheba, the twins, the Sedines.
Yep.
They play off each other really well. And then Scods, it puts a lot of pressure on Scods though because he has to pick up all the defense for the whole team.
Yeah, definitely. Even on my JSL roster, I actually drafted Kim Jong, one of the steals I drafted. I think maybe the top JSL performer, maybe besides Criz. I don't remember the exact stats, but he played kind of the same position on your team that he did in that team, where he's kind of like the top man up. You feed him the puck, and he can attempt to hit a shot from anywhere, and usually will hit it if
he's really good.
Give him the right opportunity.
I think a lot of people shy away from the topic of people's natural positions because a lot of people like to see it like it's a Rocket League and we should always be constantly cycling and everyone needs to do it all. And there's definitely that train of thought, but I've also seen teams just dominate when they put people in places where they feel comfortable and keep them there.
Yeah, definitely. I actually think that came into play in our season together, NSL Season 1, when you traded for Clout Goggler. We just sent him as the forechecker. He would just try to go wild on whoever had the puck. I'd be the middleman, you're in the back. And I think we kind of went on a run towards the end of the season. We beat the Clappers in the regular season with that strategy.
Yeah.
We beat the Slappers also, I think, in the regular season. We lost them in the playoffs, but I think, if not, it was definitely a close game in the regular season. But we found a lot of success with that same strategy. But I do think the Smokers, going into the season, what I was saying is I think they tried to do that. And, I mean, not to say they're unsuccessful, but they were a middle-of-the-pack team, which is where I thought they were going to be. But they went the route of they have one Walrus who, pretty much doesn't play defense, Kyle, who only plays defense, and then K-Spire in the middle, who does a bit of both. He's mainly a puck handler, though. But I think my thought going in was just I didn't think the team was going to mesh that well. And I think you've seen splashes of that throughout the season where their kind of connection just falls apart. They got a lot of hype early on with good performances versus not that great teams. Case by putting up some crazy stats, but I think against the top teams, like you were saying, they lost to the 4 teams above them. They just couldn't get it done, and they weren't scoring. The production just wasn't there. And I think it's just one example of that strategy not working out, where a lot of teams go for that.
Well, so one question I have then is, do you think that any team can work if people aren't like stubborn and resistant to like playing in certain spots? Like, do you think that if you put people in the right spots, any team can work together? Is it just that people like to be in certain places and they get on each other's toes?
Yeah, well, okay, well, off that, I just don't think some people are good at each role.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like,
I mean, it's got to be said.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, if you made a season and just like made, say, Walrus like just play defense all season, you'd see some improvement. Obviously, that just comes from getting reps and muscle memory and learning the situations.
Right.
But I don't think he'd be as good as like, say, Wrath, who has recently switched to offense, but he still has that defensive play style there. And he's not even the best defensive player on his team after a whole season where you see Seppi has been playing that role the whole time, more comfortable in that role. I was just a scorer. And, you get a lot of situations like that where maybe it's just like not the role you're supposed to play.
Yeah.
You know what that actually makes me think of is the other day, I don't know if it was a joke or if he was dead serious, but AIA was like, I'm going to host a tournament where I get to choose the teams, and I'll put in like a prize pool. I'll put money in, but the catch is that I get to choose the teams. And I thought that was a really interesting concept because it made me think, like, if you got to choose the teams for the league, like, how would you set them up? Who would you put together? So I started thinking about that.
Yeah, you can make some crazy rosters and some hilarious ones too.
Like, obviously it's just outside judgment, but we think things about certain rosters and like, ooh, like that's kind of a weird pairing. But I wonder what it would look like if you got to shuffle everyone around and try to like make the optimal teams.
Yeah. Well, a thing that I think just about like if you're thinking optimal teams, like wouldn't you need obviously somebody to bring up the puck, and then wouldn't you need like one lefty and one righty so you could have 2 forehands on both sides of the ice? Like technically, if you're speaking like pure optimal like setup.
That's its own question. How much do you think that left versus right hand actually matters?
Oh no, it 100% matters.
I've said
this. But how much?
I mean, if you're trying to,
I have one example.
If you're being purely optimal, then 100%. Like technically, if you don't have a lefty and a righty, then you're not technically fully optimal for a team.
Yeah, I've noticed with right hand, like pretty much the whole play comes up the left side, and then having a left-handed player, it opens up the ice a whole lot, where you have your left-hand guy playing on the right, and he feels more comfortable there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
I have one example where I've actually thought about it. It's versus the Sale, or Yuri, to be more exact. He's a lefty. He dominates the face-off against everyone. It's insane. He almost always gets a shot off. Sometimes he scores. He doesn't score every time, obviously. But especially against me, every time he'll get the puck off the face-off, and it's because he's a lefty.
Yeah.
I've started paying more attention to it. Yeah.
Left-handed versus right-handed face-offs are so funny. Like, it's just completely different.
Yeah. I think Vork might be lefty also.
He is.
Yeah, I noticed
Vork
that
and
actually,
Yuri both are.
I noticed that in our 2v2 tournament today. We played them. Me and Wrath. We destroyed them, but no big deal.
No.
So what are you saying that the Chicago Sale is what an optimal team looks like? We got
it's just a weird interaction between a lefty stick and a righty stick, especially in the face-off.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where it matters a lot, and then other than that is just the shooting angles.
Yeah, but the only reason I don't like, just because backhand shooting it's not like the NHL where you can't 1-tee off your backhand in like real hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that's why I think it matters less in Slapshot, just because you can shoot off your backhand.
But there still is a difference.
Yeah, there definitely is a difference.
Curl it and turn it, and picking it up off the boards obviously is very different.
Yeah, definitely. So there were a few mid-season changes to teams.
Yep.
We saw Jack start on the Fisherman.
I don't even know where Jack started. Wasn't there a team that like kidnapped Jack and said that he was on their team, but he actually wasn't?
There was. Yeah, actually, I remember that. It was so he started on the Fisherman with Dynamite and Noob Weps. I can't remember. Was Panther still? I think they had Panther time, but I think Jack might have been starting over Panther.
I think Panther was still there. It was Brady that they picked up later, and that's where I would have expected Jack to be because I think he's always kind of been friends with them.
But then Jack left because he really didn't want to play that much, and he has real life responsibilities or whatever. I mean, he's 15. The fuck is he got going on? But then he went to Baltimore, who he played, I think, 2 or 3 games, and they did really well, and they actually got a lot of hype. But then I think they wanted him to keep playing, maybe over Renard. I don't know. Yeah. I want to start anything, but I don't know where his position was going to be.
He just got scared.
I didn't want to keep playing. He didn't want to play. And then was it the Pepe Tactics who just like added them to their roster?
It might have been Pepe Tactics.
Without asking Jack. And then he was just there, and he's like, I don't know why I'm on this roster. I don't know what happened. And then he came to my team as a sub, finally, when because we talked about it a bit, and I was like, there's like a 99% chance you don't play a game. He ended up playing one game where we just like our schedules wouldn't work with the other teams, where we just needed someone to fill in. He was fine with it, whatever. Like, he doesn't mind. But a roller coaster for Jack this season, just bunch of teams almost kidnapped by a not so great team. Monkey. I blame Monkey for that one. I don't know if he had anything to do with it, but
just blame him. Just blame Monkey. Anyway.
Yeah. One of the bigger pickups was NSL Season 1 finalist Delvidge. He didn't play in the finals, but he wanted to. But he joined the Burgers and replaced Jack.
I think that was a great move.
Yeah, they saw a great improvement. Renard got hurt. Some drunken shenanigans, I believe. And Delvidge stepped up big. They beat the Clappers. Also some huge goals from Delvidge. I think their playstyle saw a huge shift. Having a play like that is great off the shot. He has a great one-timer. Not the best puck handler, but serviceable. I think you see a lot of players like that. And they finished 6th. A great move for them. They found a great player, veteran. And I hope to see that roster back. But did any of the other top 8 teams make changes?
Not really, right?
Yeah, it was just because Jack left for our team, and they picked up Delvidge. Fisherman picked up Brady to replace Jack when he left for them, but Panther was their third. I think Brady only played a couple of games when Noob Weapons couldn't play.
Yeah, otherwise I think they all pretty much stayed the same, and it paid off for them.
I think even besides that, I think only like the bottom 4 teams might have made changes. I don't think the Sale made a change. Boston didn't make a change. Kraken didn't make a change. I don't even know if Drumbo did. They might have. But Pepe Texas did. Lotus did. They dropped Reek and Rick mid-season. Crazy call there.
Yeah, wow.
Easily the best players on that team. Now free agents. Maybe we'll see them make an open division roster.
Just
Omaha,
make a new team.
Revolving door of
put it together. Yeah. I am really curious to see what kind of new teams might, evolve or come out in the off season. We're not there yet, but just thinking ahead, I'm excited to see.
It's the beginning of the season. Who would you say has there been like a most?
I think easily the Express are the ones that like they punched above their weight class in so many situations.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's the one that really stands out.
Yeah, I would have to say Express too. Only actually really because the other team, like none of the other teams really, I think all the teams played to where they should have been.
Wait, no, you know who else? You know who else is Honolulu?
Yeah, but they started hot and simmered
out. Okay, yeah, they started hot, but just looking at the names at the beginning, looking at the names of like the people on the team, I was like, okay, I don't know how this is gonna go. Yeah. And they actually started really hot and actually held it together. Like they had a shaky middle portion, but they brought it home in the end.
I think did they win a big game versus the Venom to secure their spot? Was that what it was?
Yeah, 7-6 at 2 p.m. That might have been the earliest game that we had in the whole season.
Yeah.
Now, what about like maybe an individual player that you think? I got one in mind, but
Yeah, mine for most surprising points probably have to be Seppi.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say Seppi
Stats.
too. Maybe
think-
Vork too. Vork
Yeah,
actually
Vork
really
did
surprised
good.
me.
His handles are really good now. Yeah, I think it has to be Seppi.
yeah.
Maybe Wrath. Wrath put up a lot of goals too, and yeah, I think he had more assists than Seppi.
Did anyone expect the domination from Fat Left though?
No.
No, but I don't think any of they didn't perform as well against the top teams. That's my only thing with them.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Especially I made a stat sheet that only took stats from the top 9 teams currently, so Venom included, even though they're outside of the top 8, and their team was not one of the good ones on there, I would say, for how they performed. Virginia did really well, even though they're the 8th seed. They just had a lot of high scoring games. There were 22 goals scored in our game, I think, around there.
So I thought this was interesting. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Storm had the most games go to OT.
Did they?
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah, so
yeah, I think we had either 3 or 4.
And then on top of that, you guys also had a lot of really close games
Yeah.
too, with
close games.
4 and 5 against the Fishermen, 10 and 9 at the Express.
That was a OT.
And then the
game.
Omelets 3 and 2. So on top of going to OT also, 3 times, also and then the Smokers as well. On top of that, so you have like 7 games decided by like 1 goal.
Yeah.
What happened there?
I think actually goes up to one of our earlier topics, like thinking about just how things mesh. I think we have the skill to beat the top teams, like we've shown. We clutched up when we had to.
Yeah.
I think all of our OT games were 2-goal comebacks. I think in the last minute that happened. Yeah. Oh no, one of them was the Kraken, which we went to not OT versus the Kraken. Not our highlight. People started ranking us really low after that. That was probably the low light of the season. But we just had, I think FSI and Reno were both used to playing defensive roles. We had a bit of toe stepping until we finally said FSI is up top now. You see me do it sometimes, so we do kind of switch. But we got FSI out of the back. It's just Reno's job now. He's damn near a goalie. He plays up a bit farther than say someone like Hellhunt would. But we kind of spread things out. Me and FSI have found some good chemistry. He has a lot of assists this season. I think he's up there on the leaderboards for assists. Reno has a lot also, because I have so many of our goals. But I just think towards the end we started spreading things out. We got off each other's toes. We still had close games just because, especially against good teams. I feel like we have the classic case of playing either up or down to our opponents. Although we didn't even really blow out the bad teams. We beat Drumbo I think 8-4 OT versus the Kraken. We beat the Sail by 3, Barrage by 4. We never really snapped on any of the bad teams, but we didn't get blown out by any of the good teams either in our losses. We lost by 1 to the Fishermen, I think maybe 4 to the Clappers, maybe 5. I think we just played how we had to, and if it ended good, then we were happy, and then we lost a couple of them.
So it sounds like you guys sort of lean more towards at least to some degree, putting people in certain positions instead of having everyone cycling and playing every position evenly.
I always think that's ideal. I just think we didn't find that flow, so we came to a point where we had to call it and say we're gonna play positionally. Reno, you're in the back. Me and FSI kind of switch a bit. That's why it's not as hard as some of the Smokers where Kyle or Walrus is up top playing his kind of cherry picky one times him at that low angle. You find that a lot. We did that a lot season 2. He had more goals than I did on our team. I don't know if a lot of people know that. Probably pretty surprising at this point.
So do you think that that's an indicator that you need to make changes if you're not able to get that 3-man cycle going?
I wouldn't.
You can go.
I wouldn't say that it's you need to change it, because I think that you can see potential in somebody that they could be that, but overall, if you want to win the league, that's kind of how you have to win. I think you can be top 8. I think you can do good and do, you can be basically below first, second, and third place by doing that. But I think if, like I said, if you want to be optimal and you want to play the proper way, like you kind of have to do that. You know what I mean? Like if not, then it's kind of you're just battling for second place at that point in my mind. Like if you're not doing what clearly works and has worked and hasn't really lost, then like what's the point of even playing, in my opinion?
Right.
Like if you're playing in a competitive league, like if you were just playing like in a draft league, like I said, where like you're just playing with two people that you might not have played with before, or like you're just trying to make a run at it and you can't control who's on your team. Yeah, but I think where like this, you can, control who's on your team. You can control how you play, who you pick, who you're playing with, what time you play, like all that. I mean, there's really no reason to not play like that, or at least like allow yourself to have the opportunity to try. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. Like we have full agency over who we play with
right.
and how we play, and like there's kind of no excuses. But it still raises the question: how have the Clappers dominated Slapshot for the last 8 months?
They just have
like what is it gonna take? What is it gonna take for a team to come and?
I'm telling you, you need a lefty. You need a righty, and then you need somebody bringing up the puck. I'm telling you.
So any left-handed and right-handed
not
player?
any left. I'm saying to be purely optimal.
Yeah, you need 3 players with the mechanical consistency that they have.
Right.
You have like they don't turn over the puck. Panarin is the best player on the boards in the league. He doesn't lose the puck. Like it takes a lot to get the puck off of him. Meat Sale's not quite as good, but still like top 3 board battler in the league. Dream, like amazing passes, consistently in the back, doesn't turn it over for like easy goals, like when he's the last man back. You just see they minimize the mistakes that every team makes as much as possible, which is something I try to do. I think I don't go for pinches a lot. I try not to do any of that stuff because it just creates inconsistency in an already inconsistent game.
Yeah.
You see a lot. But I think they just cut all that shit out. They pass the puck better than anyone, tape to tape, nearly every time. They just
another thing I think that kind of helps them now, like back to what Balucha said, is how they've been so good for the past 8 months. Is like it's almost like that like New England Patriots effect. Is like when you're playing them, like you just get like that fucking nervous feeling where like
dread.
Yeah, you're just like you have like a 1-goal lead or even like a 2-goal lead, and you're like, fuck, bro, like this isn't enough. Or like I guess
they're gonna
like against another team, like you might be like, all right, bro, we can like play this slow, like we can do whatever. Like I don't know, like there's always that like fear in the back of your head that like something's gonna fuck up, or like the puck's like near your neck, and you're like, fuck, I don't want to mess this up, and like you're just
in your head.
you're just like in your own head. So I think that definitely contributes a little bit to it, but obviously not a huge part. But I definitely think that when you're just like you're like, fuck, we have to play them tomorrow night, like you're going to bed and you're like, fuck, dude.
I think a lot of teams when playing them, I think they're more worried about not losing by 14 than like winning.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're like if they lose by 2, and they're like, oh fuck, okay, we didn't get blown out.
That's actually not that bad.
The next game, yeah.
Right.
Well, you said that the psychological aspect isn't that big, but I think it's actually huge.
No, it is.
Not just for the Clappers, but in the game in general. I think any of us here like know we can run it up in pubs if we want to.
Right.
But when it comes to like an actual sweaty matchup, if you sort of see yourself below the team that you're playing, man, you already lost.
Yep.
Like you need so much confidence to pull off some of these moves and the passing plays and everything.
We talked a lot about how close our games were. I think our biggest thing was our mental. We were down by 2, and I think 4 games, and we sent it to OT in all 4, or I think we won 1 in regulation.
Yeah.
We were down by 2 to maybe not the Smokers. I think no, we were up by 2 actually, and they scored 1. We were down by 2 to the Burgers, down by 2 to the Hootenannies, down by 2 to the Express, I think. And we won all 3 of those. I think all 3 might have been an OT. And I just think our mental is like we knew we could win. I mean, we had like a minute 30 to score 2 goals. Like if you don't think you can do that, like you're not like
already out of it.
You're not in the competitive mindset you need to like be winning those games in the first place. So what do we want to go into next? Do you want to talk about our favorite games on this season? I think there were some clear favorites. I think there were like some clear like really intense games that a lot of people liked. I'll start because I think mine might be obvious. It was the Storm versus Smokers. That game was insanely intense because I think I think we have a bit of a rivalry because I think I rated K-Spire low coming into the season. We've talked about it. I mean, we're friends. It's not like there's nothing like
it's not like he's gonna hate you.
Wrong
like...
there, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we joke about it. I rated him low coming into the season. He put up a great season. MVP almost worthy, kind of teetered off towards the end. I think he missed a couple of games that also hurt his stats. Yeah. But I think both teams wanted to win that game really bad. I teamed with Walrus. That probably had something to do with it. I was critical of them coming into the season, like to their face, like talking about it. I wanted to win the game really bad. Yeah. And that was a really good game to win. The game was 3-2. We were up by 2. Yep. I think for maybe only a bit of it, and there was a 1-goal game with like 2 minutes left, so anything could have happened. Yep. We stuck with it defensively. We knew we could win. I think it was a really, really good game.
Yeah. That was exciting to watch, actually. That was the first time where I was like, this is what competitive Slapshot should look like.
Yeah, definitely. Either you.
I would say my favorite game is the game that I actually got to play in. The individual soul game I got to play in. I don't remember who it was against. I just know
you must have loved it.
I just know that I was in that bitch and I scored and it was good.
You made it to the show.
You might have had an assist. Was that 2 points?
No, it was 1 goal, 1 assist.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. This guy's nuts. Pick him up.
Pick me up. Just kidding. I already have a team.
I think you watched.
Criz just wants to get carried to the finals.
Hell yeah. I don't got time to play.
But I know you watched a lot. What was your favorite game to watch?
Favorite game to watch? I would have to say that 11-11 burger game, dude. Like when you, like, that game was just because I didn't think like I didn't think they would push you to overtime, obviously, and I definitely didn't think the score would ever be fucking 11-11, bro.
Yeah, right.
That game helped me a lot because I scored a lot of goals that game. Yep. I did it earlier in the Virginia game. Like our offense wasn't clicking. We were down going into the third. Yeah. I think we were down by 1 and we scored, tied it, and then we immediately went down by 2. And I just really, really did not want to lose. And
just brought it back.
I scored it back. Then I scored the OT goal also. I was like, okay, like that felt good. And then, but I didn't think it was going to be repeated. And then the Burgers game, kind of the same thing happened. We were scoring early. I thought our mental got a bit weird. I feel like we thought we had the game won because we didn't think they were playing well. Yep. And then they just kept scoring with us, and then eventually pulled ahead towards the end. We were down by 2 again, and we made great team plays to bring it back, and then ended it in OT. I think those are really big confidence games for us. Like knowing we can keep up in the high-scoring games as well as like the 3-2 versus Omelets and Smokers. Right, yeah. Like knowing we can score like that is really good for our team. Yeah.
In a broader sense, I think that we can all agree that any games that were closer were way more fun to watch.
Of course.
And honestly, looking at the scores and just thinking back to the season, almost all the games between the top 8 teams, give or take a few, were actually really balanced. And it gets me super excited for what the proper season 1 is going to look like. I think it's going to be so sweaty, just really competitive.
That's what I don't know
about open division. I think it'll open up a little bit, and some of these guys will actually get to have fun, balanced games for the first time. But I think as far as the top 8 pro division, it's going to be really competitive, really exciting to watch.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say once that first actual season kicks off, where you're facing, not only the top 8 teams, you're facing in what's going to be 2 times a season, right? Instead of just one time through 16 games, it's going to be 2 times through 16 games now, since it's only the top 8 or whatever. I think that's going to be I think every game in that is going to be, even if it's kind of a blowout, there's still the chance that that team comes back, as long as it's not I don't see any teams being blown out by 5-6 goals unless it's due to own goals and pinches. But I think every game, I think every night there's a SPL game on of the pro division. I think every game is going to be worth tuning into. Where now there's kind of games where you're I won't even watch that. It's kind of going to happen. Yeah. I think it'll be super interesting.
Just a backtrack saying, Balucha, what was your favorite game? You guys had some close ones.
I forgot. Balucha never even answered.
You guys kind of had a statement game that maybe.
Which one was that?
I think you might know, but it's a bit funny now. I think you beat the Smokers. What was it, 6-1?
It was 6-1, I believe.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. That was But like everyone was doubting us because that was right on the heels of we lost to the Clappers 5-12, which was our first top 8 matchup. So there was a lot of pressure on us. We were number 1 in the league as far as standings, but it's because I mean, if I'm going to be honest, we had the easiest schedule to start and the hardest schedule to finish. Like if you look at our games going to the end, they were basically all top 8 teams except for the last one. But you know, we lost badly to the Clappers, and then right after that, we were like, okay, what can we do? We need to show people that we don't suck, and just really kind of went to the books and played the system and beat the Smokers 6-1. So yeah, that felt good. I don't know if it was my favorite. Honestly, some of the other ones, like against you guys, the Storm, that 3-2, and the Fishermen 5-4. Yes, we lost both of them back to back, and yes, those were top 8s. But it really showed just how competitive those games actually can be.
Yeah, remember what was the flow? Were you guys up? No, you guys were up 2-1, right?
Oh, actually, I think that might have been the one where we were. I think it was 2-0, and then you guys scored 3 in a row.
Yeah, we did, definitely. Because I think we scored 1 early, to make it 2-1, and then we scored like halfway through the third to make it 3-2. The funny part is I thought we were tied. I thought we were going to overtime. If you watch back the end of that game, you guys have the puck in your end with like 5 seconds left, and I'm trying as hard as I can to like get the puck and like pass it to FSI. Like I thought we were going to OT. I was trying to win the game. I didn't even know we were up for the whole third period.
Wow.
Yeah.
This guy just zoned out.
Yeah, literally.
Dude, that was us.
Okay, well, we talked about our favorite games, and now the season's over. It's behind us, and going into the playoffs, what do you guys think about the matches, and what are your predictions for how you see this thing going as we go into the playoffs?
Like, I hate to rag on the Smokers, bro. I feel like I've just been giving them so much shit. But
yeah, same. I love those guys. Just because Kyle's like the funniest person.
I love all 3 of them, bro. But they're obviously the first 2 games coming up. Then you got the Fishermen and the Burgers, right?
The Burgers.
Yeah. Like I said, the Burgers they beat the Clappers. Obviously, they pushed the Storm to that overtime with 11 goals. Like I think I picked them over the Fishermen, to be honest.
I think it easily depends who they put in.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like I think it kind of banks on Delvidge being awake.
Well, I'm assuming he's awake and ready to go.
Awake and scoring goals, and Oceloth, honestly, he's been kind of back and forth. So if their team turns on and they have the right 3, I could see him. Right. I could see it being a really close matchup. But otherwise, honestly, with Dino Mike, he puts him in. That's all I can say.
They don't play the finesse style that a lot of other teams do.
Yeah.
No, I think it throws people off.
Yeah, really annoying. Not the most fun to watch. But they just put pucks in the net, mainly down.
Yeah,
he's a shooter. He shoots.
He's a grinder, bro.
Yeah. What do you think, Balucha? So who are you picking in the omelets game, bro?
Oh my god,
I can't answer that, bro.
All right.
I mean, to be honest, based on our regular season meeting with the Smokers, it went really well. We were able to figure them out.
Yeah.
But that's another one. Like, so we kind of isolated the 3 players and knew what kind of positions they were going to do and how to break it up. But that's those 3. And just like with the Burgers, if you put in Dennis, I don't even know what to do. Like, then you have 2 people that can put up a huge amount of goals. Like, what do you even do?
Yeah, like to go back full circle, like we were saying in the very beginning, it's all about like team and just getting to know your opponent and already just knowing what's gonna happen. Like when you play them, and if they throw you a curveball and put someone else in there, like that's definitely gonna change the whole outlook of the game.
Going in, I do give the Burgers a shot, but I think the Fishermen just play
too up in your face for them.
Yeah, they're just. Yeah, they're just really gritty. They just put pucks in the net. Yeah. I don't think, and the Burgers just don't have that puck handler that can avoid the pressure.
Right.
They do a lot of like breakout passing, kind of like the Omelets do, where they don't have that guy who's just like nuts on the puck. So they rely a lot on like breakout passes and stuff like that. where like Delvage and like Walter excel on shots like those, but that's a tough team to like do that against.
Well, I feel like
Oceloth is like the closest they have, but
Mhm.
he just doesn't have the confidence yet because he's played a lot of pubs. Like that's his beginning, is playing a lot of pubs. I could easily see him like taking off next season though after all this experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I feel like a lot of the top teams put a lot of pressure on you, like on the forecheck, to force those teams because like a lot of people can't stick handle or like break out the puck. So I feel like a lot of teams like that's their biggest issue is like when somebody can win a one-on-one defensive matchup on the forecheck, like that's where I think a lot of teams fall apart. Where like with the Clappers, like you can't go one-on-one forecheck, so you're like, okay, if I put 2 up there, they're just gonna pass it. If I put 1 up there, he's gonna go by me, so I'm just gonna stay back, and then you let them just skate up the ice and make plays. So it's kind of like what do you do? Do you send 1 and then hope he doesn't go by you, or do you just stay back, like let them come up the ice? So I feel like a lot of the teams who don't have breakouts, like kind of like struggle against the top end teams, like.
I think that's actually the greatest explanation I've heard of why the Clappers are so good.
Yeah.
Is you don't beat any individual one of them one-on-one.
Right.
And the reason is because you have the 3 best players in the game.
Like
on
you
one
can't,
team.
you can't forecheck, and then he'll go around you, and then you sit at half ice, and then you just let them skate around and create openings. So it's like like pick your poison. Like what do you want to live with? Like losing the one-on-one or hoping you win it, or send two at him and hope that like you can create a turnover, which like probably isn't gonna happen.
So that being said, Virginia Express versus Columbus Clappers. What do we see happening in this series? But with also considering that they had a recent matchup where they won, the Clappers won by 1 point. It was 7-6.
Yeah.
See me getting put in, obviously. No brainer.
Criz has to start.
I have to start.
Come on.
Key matchup. Throw them a curveball real quick. They'll never see it coming.
The biggest grinder on the Clappers.
I'm by far the biggest grinder. That's not even a question.
I don't think the series is going to be pretty. I think the Clappers are going to level up going to the playoffs. It sucks to say, I don't think they take every game in the regular season seriously as they should.
Yeah.
I feel like they hold back even against like the best teams. But their holding back isn't like just not scoring. It's like they just up like the standard level of like the goals they're trying to score.
Well, do you think that goes into another thing about like the psychology of it? Like now that it's playoffs, like you think people are gonna be more nervous to play them, so they just kind of naturally level up, or do you feel like people like level down? If that makes sense, like they don't even level up; they just level down. Like
I actually think in the playoffs people level up in general.
Yeah,
I think there's more pressure in a way, but you're also like more centered. You're more focused. Like. It feels more competitive, like it matters so much more. So you put more on the line, and I feel like people usually tighten up their play rather than like being more shaky.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I think the expectation is that the Clappers are gonna win.
Yeah.
Virginia.
If you're a betting
Virginia
man,
has to win game 1.
Oh yeah.
That's all. You need to give yourself the 2 more. Like you need to win the game 1, and you have 2 chances to win the series.
And imagine the confidence boost of doing that too. Like I don't know too much about like Clapper's psychology, and I don't know if Criz wants to reveal the secrets, but like I don't know. I feel like that would be pretty disheartening for the Clappers. Like, but I mean, so there's that, and then obviously Storm and Hootenannies we've also got coming up.
Hootenannies.
I mean, that one could be a toss-up too. I've seen the Hootenannies do their worst, and then I've also seen them, fall apart. So
I don't know, dude. It's tough because I don't really have a read on any. Like I don't know. I feel like some teams you can say you kind of know what to expect most of the time. I mean, no offense to Rodeo and his team, but sometimes you just don't know how it's gonna go. Like, it's either gonna be a 1-goal game or like a 6,
or it's gonna be an OT game against the Kraken.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's tough. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, as the games go on, even the first 5 minutes, we'll be able to tell like how they're playing and stuff. But I couldn't tell you if I had to pick. Obviously, I would pick Rodeo's team, but anything can happen on the day of the game. But
see, I would say that it's on the Hoots to start getting on the board early, but it's just that thing that Rodeo just talked about is like you'll be down 3,
right,
and then Rodeo just he presses the hat trick button.
Yep.
So I mean, so as far as series, I see Storm taking that one, and honestly, beyond that, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Storm and Clappers in the finals. I don't know if that's like too early to say,
I
but
could see that, of course.
Yeah.
how's the bracket even set up?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Is that possible?
Yeah, I think it's.
I don't know.
Yeah,
If
I think it's on the website.
I don't know if that's
yeah.
possible. I haven't
It's
seen. Where do I see this?
Clappers Virginia plays the winner of Denver Smokers.
Oh, here it is. Right. So the path to victory here. Storm have to beat they haven't beat the Hootenannies yet, but just if we're gonna get a Storm Clappers final,
they need to beat winner of Burgers Fishermen after we hopefully beat Hootenannies. Yep. And then hopefully beat Clappers if Clappers make it. And then the Clappers play the winner. Clappers Virginia plays winner Denver and the Smokers.
Yeah, so you asked me how I felt about omelets versus smokers, but we can just say that regardless of the outcome, I think the Clappers are going to be making the finals for what is it, the third, fourth time in a row.
I'll get 2 crowns.
Yeah, Criz gets a participation trophy.
Yep, give me my participation
crown.
I got to play in one game. Counts. Put it on the fridge. I took a picture. I slapped it right on the fridge with the magnet, like right on there.
Crazy.
Well, so by the time we do the next episode, playoffs will be what?
Should be
over.
Yeah, should be over.
Should be over. We'll be starting the off season, and so when we come back, we'll have seen how all that goes. We'll see how our predictions played out, and we can definitely talk about that. And then also we should have some new teams maybe getting formed by then, and kind of
we can talk about maybe some fallouts of some teams.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. After the playoffs, we'll see if there's any any tension between the teams.
Any tension, maybe some.
Even right now, before the playoffs start, Dynamite's already a free agent.
Why?
That's true. Dynamite has stated that he's done with the Fishermen. So, I mean, do the Fishermen even stay as a team?
But wait,
he's done because Noob Evans Noob doesn't want to play anymore. And then I don't think him and Panther talked. And then just the other day in the Discord, Dino just posted in the looking for team channel that he's looking for
God. Team. So what does that even mean so does that mean that the Venom are going to get auto promoted?
But does that mean that
is that fair?
Is he done with the game as in Slap 1
Dino's
waiting
fine.
for Slap 2, or is he done with the game forever?
Wait, who?
Man, you can't just leave Slapshot.
Weapons.
Yeah, I think he's waiting for Slap 2.
Yeah. Well, you said he's quitting, so I was like,
sorry, no.
You level to 178. You figure you'd want to play Slap 2. You know what I mean? I was
okay, I'm bored.
Yeah, fuck this game. I'm 135,000. I'm out.
I mean, he kind of peaked, so it's what are you going to do? Let's wait for the next one. New weapons will return.
But that is a good question. Before we end, what's going to happen if his team dissolves and, there can't be a team? Would Dynamite just be the captain then? I think that's, the most logical thing would be to pick him as the captain with Panther.
See, so I don't know if he would continue the Fisherman and look for new people or just...
You need 2 people who qualify for Pro Division on your roster to keep your spot.
Well, it's him and Panther. And then whoever the third is.
But I don't think he wants to play with Panther because he already he posted looking for team without even talking to him.
And then I mean, who's the fourth? They have a sub.
It's Brady,
but that doesn't. I don't think the sub counts.
Yeah. Well,
doesn't he?
I'm not.
I was gonna say, bro. Because
I'm pretty certain
if you don't want to play with Panther, you could always suck it up with them for a season, stay in the league, and then be like, okay, bro, just let's go our separate ways. Which is to me the more sophisticated thing to do. But
I mean, my read on the situation is I think that Dino and Noob will always team together if they're both playing competitive Slapshot.
Oh yeah.
I think Noob now wants to or not Dino now just wants to get in some experience with a different team and just see what.
Yeah.
Dino definitely is someone that I don't see going anywhere. He'll make it work. He'll find a team.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I think that's something hopefully we'll have seen by next week, if not next week, the week after. So like I said, I'm just excited to see what new teams form, how it shakes it up, how things shuffle.
Yeah, playoffs will be over. It'll be interesting.
And the playoffs will be over.
Yep.
All right, that covers basically everything. So it's been real, boys.
Episode 1.
Good episode 1.
Yep.
Till next time.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.